Hey, all right. Sygie, we're here today. Finally, it's been a long time coming because we have been planning this. It felt like it took forever for us to get this thing going. So, everyone, I hope you all have had a great week so far. I'll first start by saying that I am Robin Woods. I'm the founder of Wine and Mastermind. We are a community of high achieving boss professional moms who are out here doing our thing. Okay. So we focus our efforts around developing a healthy mindset, prioritizing our well-being, and we want to make sure that we're getting stuff done, y'all. Like that's our goal because we believe that we can have it all. Okay. We can have it all as bringing in, from a financial side, taking care of our families, taking care of the people that we love, and just being the best version of ourselves. We believe that we can have it all. And most importantly, we are here to help other people. We want to help change the world. And so that's why I really tried my best to bring on other boss moms that I know who are here who are just as passionate as I am. And so it is just so good to have Miss Sygie Sumlin here with us. She is the founder, the boss mom, the CEO of Rich Marketing Systems. And CG, before I even jump into, because I definitely want you to share a little bit more about yourself, but I've known CG for quite some time now, right? Like we've known each other for some years. And it's crazy how things happen, like because I literally we haven't seen each other in a very long time. It's so funny how things just kind of align, right? Like we recently went to a conference, this was like a couple of months ago, and reconnected, and it was just like the vibe, the energy. I mean, even down to the point where we were up like late one night with girls, like talking business, talking life, like just really just having some good fellowship, good fun, food, drinks, all of that, right? And so it's just so good to have you here and just to be able to have this opportunity for us to connect with one another. Just, as grown women, like
as grown women, yes.
Girl, like just really allowing life to life, right? But we are taking control over, just different situations that may come up, right? And we are not allowing life to just, get past us. Like we are literally taking matters into our own hands and we're making things happen out here. Okay. And so I just commend you for that because I know there are so many things that you have just done to elevate your life. And I want to introduce you to the group. So I want you to share with everyone, give us some stuff, tell us about yourself.
All right, where do I begin? So many things. First of all, Robin, thank you. Thank you for allowing me in your home with your moms. I know you protect them. I know you love them and you're committed to them. So this is an honor just to be here to allow me to share this space with y'all.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
So who is CG? Wow. I don't know where to start with that. So CG is a mom of two girls. I have a teenager, 14. I still can't believe that. It doesn't even sound right coming out my mouth right now. Have a teenager. She's 14 and a 9-year-old. I own and operate Rich Marketing Systems, where we help female-led companies, organize, documents, and delegate so they can hire, train, and build these dynamic teams. We all go into entrepreneurship for freedom, but a lot of times we can't because we are the people that are holding ourselves back. So we primarily work with female-led companies. What else is there to know? Marketing background.
Where you from? Tell us about where am I from?
So I am from South Georgia, Americus, Georgia. Born and raised. I graduated from Americus Sumter High School. We were the first graduating. Fun fact: we were the first graduating. 2005 was the first graduating class of Americus Sumter. But previously, I went to Sumter County.
Wow.
So after graduating, I went to GSW in Americus for 1 year, I think, and then I transferred to Columbus. I graduated from Columbus State, 2010, and I start adulting.
Okay.
Basically, I started
Basically.
adulting. My background is in insurance. When I graduated from college, I already was working.
Mhm.
Some kind of way I got into insurance, and I loved it. Like I have done. My daughter is 14, so I've been doing insurance for about at least 11 years. I know, licensed. And how I
Yeah.
transitioned, I know we haven't got into that, but it just happened.
Yeah.
So how I transitioned into what I'm doing today was I got laid off from insurance. So that's how I ended up starting my own
Oh,
business. Yeah, like
okay.
I said, I know we haven't got to that
Oh,
point, but yeah.
yes, yes, because I want to hear about that. I want to hear more about that. But before
Okay,
we
gotcha.
even jump into that, I'm curious to know, like, what is it that you love about like just working for the insurance company at the
Okay, so I had my daughter my senior year in college,
time?
and I told this story just yesterday. I was still going to school. Like I didn't miss a beat.
Hmm.
I went to school all the way up until the day I had my daughter. And I told my professor, I said, I'm not going to be able to come to school tomorrow. I won't be in class tomorrow. And he was like, why? I said, because I'm having my baby. And he was like, because I would always wear a hoodie. He was
And
like,
he had no
well, I
idea.
guess that's a good reason.
Exactly. It's
um,
like, yeah, you need to stay home.
Right. He was like, well, yeah, you're good. So
Yeah.
anyway, end up having my daughter senior year of college. I was working at Outback Steakhouse, and then this one Sunday, I had a couple come in, and this lady was on a diet, and just me being me, providing customer service, listening to people, and trying to give them what they need. I
Hmm.
helped her, select what she was going to eat. And afterwards, she was like, do you like what you do? You helped us so good. They left me an amazing tip. That Sunday, I was having the worst day ever because I was like, it's Sunday and I'm here working and my baby is at home. Like, I felt
Yeah.
like I was never seeing my daughter.
Yeah.
So she was like, if you want to do something different, let me know. And she gave me a card for Aflac. I didn't
Okay.
know I mean, I live in Columbus. Aflac is a major company in Columbus, but I didn't know what she did. But one
Yeah.
day I got so desperate, I was like, I'm about to call this lady. It was like 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
And come to find out, she sold insurance. At that time, I knew nothing about insurance. I was still on my parents' insurance.
Yeah.
So I didn't even have a concept of what to expect. And, that was like one of the best decisions I've ever made. Ever
Wow.
made. Yeah.
Wow. Especially, see, man, and you just said something because I was just sitting here thinking about like, kudos to you first because you were like, okay, like I know I got to do something different, right? And you was like, let me figure it out. Like the fact that you had that opportunity presented to you, and you were like, let me just figure it out. Like let me get with
Mhm.
someone who can help me, and you allow yourself to be vulnerable enough to take that, right? Like you call her and say, hey, I don't know anything about insurance. Let me do this.
But I was
And what really
willing.
resonates with me is having a child. Yes, having a child and working, all kind of hours and feeling as if I was like, it's just this disconnect. Like I was like, it can't be like this cannot be what, in my opinion, right? Like what motherhood is all about. Like me just
Right.
being
Oh
away
yeah.
from
Oh
home,
yeah.
not being able to connect. And that was kind of the thing that sparked me to start looking for other things. Now it took me much longer to kind of get there, to get to that point where I was like, okay, I gotta really, I seriously gotta do something different. So the fact that you kind of made that decision early, and I guess
Mhm.
you're kind of forced to, right? But you
Yeah.
made that decision early, and I'm sure it's helped pave the way to where you are now, right? Like to what you're doing, probably a lot of stuff, even in your business, probably,
Oh
right?
my goodness. Didn't even realize. Yeah, you're right. I didn't realize it then, but I've never been afraid to take a risk on myself. I've never been afraid to bet on myself. And I didn't realize it then, but that's what I was doing. I was like, I don't like it here. So
Right.
over there has to be better than this.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what's over there, but I know I don't like it here.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's that like that. That's what we call that pain point, right? It was that thing you was
I was
like,
in
oh,
pain.
this
Yeah.
don't feel it. I can't stand this. I get it.
Yeah, I was like, no,
I
no,
get
I can't do
it.
this.
I get it. Okay, so you moved on to working for an insurance company, and you said how many years? How many years did you say?
Oh, oh Lord. Well, I'm still licensed.
Okay, so
I would never let those licenses go. But
I know this is
I worked for it was 2016.
okay.
2016. I I thought I loved the company I worked for. I absolutely loved it. I
Yeah,
thought I was going to retire. You know that golden
yeah.
American dream, like I'm gonna
This
retire
is it.
from here. Yeah, I was ready. Like I was committed. And walked into the office one day and we were sitting there and you could see the Columbus Sheriff Department. Like I think they had the whole office because everyone had their own individual escort walking
Wow.
out. And they were like, get your things, not our computer and not our files. We mean your purse and your keys. That's
Yeah.
it. Get out. Do not return. Um,
Wow.
and I had at that time I had a little baby. My baby she was like 2 years old at that time. So being you know, at the time I was married, mom of two kids, and having to go home and be like, yeah, I don't know what I'm about to do right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, it was a lot. It was very like it was something that you would see off of a movie. It was
Yeah.
really intense.
Girl, and
And
I've experienced that too with the
yeah,
lady.
really, yeah.
Yep.
It
So
was
I
serious.
know. Yeah, it's surreal because I remember it was like my first HR job. So my background is in HR, and I remember my first HR job. I got laid off on my birthday, girl.
They don't care.
Them fools
Girl, they
said,
do not care.
happy birthday. And within 20 minutes, they were like knocking at the door, like, can we come see you for a second? And it was crazy because it was so many people getting laid off for this company, right? Like they're pretty much non-existent now. But like I remember that moment in my life, and I was just like, I gotta figure something. Like it never even, especially being in HR, a lot of times like we're kind of like the last ones, a lot of times
Mhm.
we're helping. If we gotta lay off people, we helping to lay, everybody else off.
Right.
The way this model was set up was that they were like all these HR fields like across the entire company were getting eliminated, right? Which makes sense. You got to downsize because you have other positions still
Mhm.
there. But I just remember it had never even crossed my mind. And I had
But
just
it would
got
be you.
yes, girl. I was like, what? Like, and I was like fresh still, out of college. I
Telling
was
you.
devastated. So I know that feeling, and especially for you because you had already had your daughter before then,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, but I mean, just in that moment, like that's just to me, that's like a rock bottom moment, right? Especially when that's all you're depending on. The only thing you're
Oh
thinking about,
yeah.
you know what I'm
It,
saying? Like,
and for me, it was my dedication to this company. It was
yeah,
almost like a divorce. Like
yeah,
you know how the lady on what is the movie Waiting to Exhale? Like I kind of felt like that. I'm like, all of what I've done, like I stayed up late, came in early,
yeah.
blood, sweat, and tears, and then this.
They just like get your stuff.
Everybody, it didn't matter if you were there for one day. Like I had been there at that time like 8 years. It
Wow.
was people that had been there for 35 years and
Wow. Wow. Yeah. I mean, and it's just, which is why I try to encourage people, especially again, coming from an HR lens, right? Like I know how quickly that can happen. And I've been a part of like, again, I was laid off and I've also been a part of having to lay people off and, for different things in terms of companies. And so that's why I always try to tell people like, it's nothing wrong with working for somebody else, but just always make sure you have some kind of backup, right? Like if it's you're investing in something or you have a business, like find something that you can be doing just to make sure because at the end of the day, companies got to do what they have to do, right? Like we're business owners, and it's the same way
Mhm.
for us. Like, depending on how things go, dynamics go, like, right now I don't have necessarily employees. Like I do more contract work, but at some point, like that's what it takes in entrepreneurship. Like you got to make those tough decisions sometimes, right?
Oh,
So,
yes.
so that's
Yes.
why I say, I would say rule of thumb, make sure, any of you who are watching, just make sure you have some kind of backup, right? Some kind of backup plan, emergency plan, especially when you are working for somebody else, because look, you just never know.
They what is it? The golden rule. The one who has the goal makes all the rules. Like
Okay, come on now.
it's
Like,
there to me.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, cool. Okay, well, thank you for sharing that. Okay, so let's talk about kind of your transition, right? So coming from your job, you love this job, you were laid off, you were working, you got your insurance license, right? Is it called insurance license? License?
Mhm,
Okay.
mhm,
So you
mhm.
got your insurance license. How long did it take? How long does it take to get an insurance license? I'm curious.
It's a 40-hour course,
Okay.
so
Okay.
yeah, not long.
But studying though, you still have to kind of go
Oh
through
yeah.
and study and all. Yeah, yeah, yeah. See, that's
Mhm.
what I was thinking about.
Not like
Okay,
a
cool.
college degree,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah. But
yeah, it's like a 2 weeks at tops, and
okay,
you can take the test, right?
okay, cool, cool. Okay, so you're still licensing that. So at what point did you transition into leading your own empire? At what point was it?
So, oh, it's been a roller coaster, but I immediately decided I was going to work for myself. When I walked out that door, I knew I was going to work for myself. I didn't
Yeah,
know how or what, whatever. I just
yeah,
said, I'm gonna do this on my own
yeah,
because as a insurance agent, it's different categories you can be in. At
yeah.
that point, I was an employee, but it was, I mean, it's other things. You could be a broker, you
Hmm.
could be a contractor, you could be a lot of different things and still work for yourself, not for a company. So
Okay,
I was just like, oh, y'all want to do this to me again? That was my thing. I'm gonna work for
okay.
myself, but I couldn't have planned how things went. Honestly, I started earlier that year. I had started a blog just for fun because I like to write. That's one of the things I love to do. And, just sharing my thoughts and things like that. And honestly, that's what kicked it off.
Okay,
Because I started I think it's WordPress. It was a free WordPress site.
okay.
And I had to learn. I ain't have no money to pay people. I can be, you can't just throw money away on a hobby, right?
Yeah,
So that
exactly.
actually helped me because I learned how to do it. And then other people were asking me, can you help me start a blog? That's what it was at first. And
Really?
then
Okay.
from building, which is basically building a website, what people,
Okay.
the terminology, right?
Hmm.
Um, what was I about to say? So the next level for me, I started getting, my clients. I started getting a little group of clients. But then I noticed I wasn't able to market um as much as I was because I had clients. And now I'm like, oh, I'm getting a little bit overwhelmed. So I learned the concept of batch creating and creating automation and email marketing because I was like, I still need to I need to be able to service my clients, but I still need to tell other people about my business too. So that's how I got into the whole world of creating
Yeah.
systems and operations and automation. It really firsthand because I have a degree in marketing, but honey, it's so old and antiquated. Like we didn't learn anything like this
Mm.
in college at all. I have that degree somewhere. It's not hanging up or
Okay.
anything.
It's so
I've
different.
learned, right. So most of the things that I've learned has been from trial and error and attending conferences like the one we went to, paying for personal and professional development outside of a university. That's where I've learned most of the things.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yes. Yes. That's amazing. That's amazing. So let me kind of go back because some things that you shared out of that. Number one, you started doing something that you love, right? You started blogging. Am I breaking up? I want to make sure
Mhm.
I'm not breaking up.
No,
Okay.
I can hear you.
All right. So you okay, good. All right. So yeah, so you started blogging, you were doing something that you love, and from there, basically people started seeing like, oh, you do a good job with this.
Mhm,
Like, and so they started
mhm,
paying you to help them create their
mhm,
own blog, right? So at that point, you
mhm.
kind of found we have many superpowers. I kind of call it like a superpower, right? So you knew that was your superpower.
Yeah.
And that's something that I try to encourage people to really tap into, right? Like tapping into those skill sets that you already have, right? It didn't take
Mhm,
like although you went to school for marketing, right?
mhm.
You weren't out here trying to, you were knowledgeable in marketing, but you weren't out here just trying to say, hey, I'm a, right now I'm a marketing
Marketing.
expert, right? Like
Right.
you do something just and I'm saying basic, and it's really not basic because I do believe that even blogging is a skill set. Like writing
Mhm.
is a skill set,
Oh yeah.
creative writing, and that's something that everybody doesn't have. And so the reason why I bring that up is because again, the fact that you tapped into your power and you said, I'm just gonna try it. Like, let me
Mhm,
just see where this goes and go from there. And
mhm.
you see how much clarity you got along the way, right? So you did that and you
Yes.
said, I gotta make money. You get your clients, and then from there, that's when you started realizing how, okay, how do I make this whole process? How do I make this easier with marketing my business, right? How do I even grow my business if I can't
Mhm,
market? Right?
mhm,
If you don't know who you
mhm.
are, how you gonna truly grow your business? So you decided to do that, and you broke up a little bit, but I know you mentioned that's when you started creating like systems and some other things, and it was hard to hear for a quick second. So I just want you to repeat that part about some of the things you said you
Yes.
started creating.
So yes, you make a good point, and I don't mind running back through that because this is something that I talk about so much because it was a moment that I will like that period in life. It was like, yeah, you know how you celebrate, you're an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
you get to make your own sketch, that
Yes, girl.
whole
Yes,
that
all of it.
whole fairy tale that they sell you on entrepreneurship, but
You
that was
all
a
are.
lie.
Yes.
That was a lie. I had
Uh,
become my own employee. Like I was not
Girl, listen.
doing, I couldn't go anywhere because I was on that computer. I couldn't, the life they were saying, the laptop life, I was on the laptop all right, but
You
it
all.
wasn't fun.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I was chained to my computer, like for
Yep.
real. So I was like, Lord, this ain't it. This ain't it.
Hmm.
Um, and I had even, this is something people don't talk about, but just working at home and being a solo entrepreneur, where leaving a corporate environment with the team, my personality, I'm a team oriented person. So
That's
I start
real.
craving that interaction because I'm
Yep.
like, I'm always by myself. Like
Yes.
I wake up by myself. I go to bed by myself. Like it was just always alone. So yeah, I had to free up. I did it not knowing what the term. This was before the whole it became popular. That
Yeah.
I was trying to free up time so I can be a human, so I could interact, so I could be a mom, and
Yes.
do all the other things that I needed to do because I did not have the time. I we would be sitting somewhere, Robin, talking, and I would whip my computer out because I'm like, I got stuff to do. Like, I don't
Yeah.
have time to
I,
like.
I'm not.
It, yeah, that was just me. And I
Yeah.
had to catch myself a few times because I'm like, girl, what's wrong with you? Like these people trying to talk to you, people trying to invite you to stuff. You talk about you gotta work. When that was the whole reason, like it wasn't too different. And I've always been a worker. I'm a work. I don't mind. I do not mind working
Yes.
at all. But it was, I noticed my business slowed down because I
Yep.
was working and I
Yep.
wasn't interacting.
Yep.
And the interaction was what was driving my business, not the skill. It
Yes.
was me talking to people, being present, going out to get a coffee and listening to people. I didn't even have time to listen to, like, I didn't even have time to listen because
Wow.
I was thinking about what I needed to get done because
Yep.
everything was money.
Yeah. Hard to be present. It was hard to be
I
present really with
girl,
anything.
I wasn't. No, I
Yeah.
wasn't. I wasn't present at all. And
I
like I
know.
said, I started slowly seeing my sales go down. Not,
Yeah.
I was working more, but my sales were going down. And that was because my interactions, my daily interactions went down drastically because
Yeah.
I was only on the computer. So when I set up just circling back to the automation,
Mhm.
I would set up things to, conversationally.
Mhm.
So I would create posts like I'm doing it right now, or I would send out emails like I'm typing this right now, and they would respond back. And later on, I could, have that conversation with them, and that kept it going. But it was still on my time. As before, they're like, I realized that's why people were coming to me, not because I was the best this or the best that. People were wanting my energy, and people were wanting my creativity and my conversation.
Yeah. 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 Because you, and that's the thing, girl. Look, and again, just our interaction, 2 months ago, like, yes, CG, for those of you, especially if you are trying to simplify your life and just your mind in general, like your creativity is amazing. And it's so crazy because you just like, girl, you just come with it. You just start throwing it out there like, hold on, wait, like I didn't even think about that. And so, yeah, I agree. And I could totally see why people would be attracted to that. So,
Mhm,
okay, so basically you're at this point where you're like, okay, I got to do something different just to have my life back, right? Like where I can be more
mhm,
present with people. And a point you brought up when you talked about just relationships, right? So relationships with potential clients, right? Like
mhm,
actually being able to understand their problems, but then also just your own personal interaction, right? Like just having relationships with other people. And I
mhm,
always look at that because I'm like, a lot of us, we miss that, right? Because especially when we get older, and you know how people start saying, like, talking about like, oh, no new friends, right? Like you start talking about you don't need no new friends. That was, I
mhm,
would say, for me, when I actually transitioned into my business, that was one thing that I really didn't realize I needed until I started having those moments of, right, like not necessarily working in the office anymore, right? Like, and you doing solo work, like, and when I started realizing, I'm like, I'm craving like
mhm,
relationships, like with
mhm,
people, and for the longest time, I remember just feeling like I was on this island because most of the people, a lot of my friends, a lot of my family weren't necessarily, entrepreneurs. I don't have a lot of people, just necessarily my family who are doing that, right? So it wasn't a lot of people I could talk to, and so I think you know, going back to the point of trying to simplify your life so that you can have the space to be able to, have those relationships with your children, with
mhm.
your family,
Yes,
you have a
yes.
better presence. And that was one of the things that I've just been really trying to focus on personally. That's one of the things that I had to kind of get a grip on because I was like, what I noticed is that I like everything else around me, because that to me that's a form of self-care, right? Like that's a form of well-being, like actually fostering healthy relationships. And so when I got a hold of that, I was like, okay, I'm a different person now. Like when I
I
realized,
love that. I love that. And you
yeah,
know what? This group, that's why I'm loving everything you're doing right now.
girl,
Because actually, so like I said, I started working for myself, and then I wanted to, I'm like, dang, I miss people. I miss people, right?
exactly.
So I started going to networking events.
Hmm.
That wasn't the best thing because it was, everybody was like, oh, here's my business card. Like it was so not
Yeah.
whatever.
Hmm.
So the next thing was, I was like, you know what? I love to host. I love to, yeah, I love to host. I like to organize meetups and everything like that. So for three or 4 years, right up until COVID, I hosted a monthly meetup called Coffee and Creatives in downtown Columbus. And it was just everything. Like
Nice.
it's one of those things you had to be there. Like I met, and it was so, unselfish, selfless of me because it was a free event, and I basically I'm like, how do I meet other entrepreneurs in Columbus? And that was the way. That was the way. I met so many
Yeah.
people. I made so many connections because we basically just had each other's back, and it wasn't even about charging and, oh, let me charge you this amount to answer this question. They were like, what do you need? Like, when you came into the room, you had so many professionals of all different backgrounds. And if I don't know the answer, I know such and such work at this place and she can get you the answer. So, and it just energized me to see like I was the
Yeah.
reason
Yeah.
for this person getting this job, and they still work there today, and now they have a family and they're feeding their family from it. Like, that just
Oh,
still warms my heart to this day. Yeah. So that's why, like I said, I love what you're
yes.
doing
That's
right
awesome.
here. Yeah.
Girl, thank you, thank you, and
Yeah, I'm
I think
like,
to your point, like
don't
that's
minimize this. Yeah, don't minimize
yeah,
this. This is
yeah.
amazing.
Thank you for that. Yeah,
You're welcome.
I enjoy it too, and I think that's what I love about just being able to, bring people together, right? Like creating. It's like
Yes.
that. When you talk about like create your table, like this is what it
Mm-hmm.
is for me. It's more like I know that I know that it's needed, right? I know it's needed to hear these kind of discussions because these are the discussions that I was looking for when I was,
Yes.
feeling like okay, Robin, like what do you need to do to get your life together? Like you got all these,
Mm-hmm.
balls we trying to juggle, right? And other people that I knew. And so especially when I was working in my HR career, like talking to countless number of women who were, kind of struggling with some of those same, things of just trying to find alignment in what we really do, right? Like finding a way to just be a woman, have children, right? Like you can have children, you can have a family, even if you're working in your career, you're working in your job, but just being able to operate at your best. And I think that's the reason why I really, why I'm so passionate about just this platform and just
Yes.
bringing women together. So girl, we may have to do some collaboration at some point, especially if now that I know that you do that too. So we might
Yes.
have to do some stuff. So, okay, I'm curious to know because one of the things you talked about from a and just kind of thinking about the transition, right? Like you talked about like being a solopreneur, like the relationships. Were there any other like challenges that maybe you had faced just in that transition, right? Like especially being a solopreneur. Like were there any other mind blocks or patterns maybe that you experienced that you needed to break in order to truly start building your business the way you needed to?
Oh, girl. Yeah. A lot of.
Share, please
Where do
share.
I begin?
Listen,
Like,
for
is
me,
this
that's
a
like
trick
that's a
question?
whole book,
Yeah,
okay?
I'm like, girl.
A couple of books. That's a couple of
Okay. Yeah. So the first thing, I became a single mom, two girls.
Mhm.
Um, that was a major, transitioning from, you know, all the things that come with that, girl.
Oh,
Just,
yeah.
yeah.
The fear,
And, huh?
the
Yeah.
fear, probably the
Yeah,
uncertainty.
like, yeah. So I was the same time. I mean, the parallel, the
Yeah,
same. Like, and then when how I'm gonna pay these bills because I need clients. It's that fear. Well, maybe I
yeah,
should just get a job because that how a job makes you feel more secure.
yeah.
Um, girl, I am a whole new person from like
Mhm. I
like
know.
I was 2000. I'm trying to think back 2016 me versus the now girl.
Yeah.
Um, I had to change everything. I I remember one of the first times. So me and my girls, we moved out. I got us a place, and I remember like some of the first nights. I instantly what helped me the most being an entrepreneur and a single mom was creating a system and a routine.
Oh,
Um,
I like that. A
yeah,
routine for the house, like managing the house,
for
or
the
just
house,
everything.
everything. What I had done for my business, I had to redo it for my current lifestyle because
Yeah.
I had support, but I didn't want to be dependent.
Mhm.
Um, and I didn't want to feel like I didn't have control of my life. That was very important to me. So, although I have a lot of support, I always make sure that it's when needed. I
Yeah.
don't, you know what I'm saying? It's not like, oh, I'm not going to base my schedule on someone else. Now, if my schedule overlaps and I need assistance, that's one thing, but I never base my schedule off of somebody outside of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Um,
So what were some of the things? What were some of the routines and systems that maybe you set up in the house? I'm curious to know because girl, I
right.
will need help with
For
that.
one, nailing down bedtime. Because after I was mom until they went to bed, that was
Yeah.
when I did, you know, I ended up writing a book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I ended up writing a book during that time. She, Myself, and I. I wrote that book when they would go to bed because, like I said earlier, I love to write, but for so many years, I stopped writing. Like, thought I didn't even I don't know why, but it was like a mental block. I literally could not write.
Mm.
Could not. Not personally.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so one of the first few nights when we were in our apartment,
Mhm.
um, I just picked up a journal and I just started writing, honey. I started writing, I started reading. This was all when they went to bed. Um, it would be so quiet. It was like I wasn't on social
Yeah.
media. I wasn't on social media. Not that I wasn't on there, but during that time, no. And then it was mostly like an AM and a PM routine that was most important to me.
Okay.
In the
Yeah.
middle can get a little fuzzy,
Yeah.
but I always did the same thing every night. Put them to bed, read, journal,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And then when I took them to school, I would go walking. Now,
Get
that
that
don't
fixed
sound
nigga.
like it's just like that's nothing spectacular, but
Girl,
let
yes
me
it
tell
is.
you,
Yes, it is. Don't
yeah,
discount that. Don't discount the power of walking now. Like I tell anybody, like
I would
even
just walk.
15, 20 minutes. Like the fact
I
that
was,
you got
you
your
know
body.
how what is his name, Forrest Gump, and he would say, "I just kept running." I would just go walking. Like I would find new paths to go down.
Yes,
Like,
I love it.
yeah,
I love
those
it.
two things, right? And I think it was just the sunlight, the
Yep.
vitamin D, because
Yeah.
black women, we lack that a lot of times, and those are a lot of things like depression and anxiety. The lack of vitamin D comes from that, right?
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
just right off, nothing drastic. Like, I'm not overly, like, I'm not trying to be Susie Homemaker. Like, it was nothing drastic. It was just simple things. And then even, you know, Instacart, like things like that, allowing myself to get help.
That
I
part
have
right there.
I have a look, I'm looking at it now. I deserve help even if I have to pay for it. So a lot of times I had to,
You speaking my language now. You speaking my
yeah,
language.
because where I'm from, America, it's like you get it done. You the mama. That's your job. Like, you gonna have somebody come clean your house, girl. What's
Yeah.
wrong with you? You gonna
Yeah.
have, like,
Yeah.
I had to get all like, that's what I said. I'm like a whole new person because that's that is so different from how I think now. I had to. It was almost like I was in an internal struggle with myself because I was like, but I need help, but I'm supposed to be able to do all of these things.
Yes. Yes. Girl. Ooh. CG. Girl, you first, let me just say this. So I like kudos to you, like with again the routines, right? Like you started, and that's what it takes, right? Like when you're really
Hmm.
trying to create something, at some point, like you got to start having those routines in your house. You gotta figure that
Hmm.
out, right?
Yeah.
And the fact, I just love how you said, do something simple, right? Like find
Hmm.
something simple that you can do. Take some walks. Ain't nothing wrong with no walking.
Hmm.
Like I said, 15, 20 minutes. You talked about, you dedicated that time. Once you put your kids to bed, you put the girls to bed, you started writing. Like you made that space. And I say that because it wasn't until like for me when I started creating space, which is part of the reason why I write my book now.
Hmm.
Because I let it come out my mouth. God knew what he was doing, but I let it come out my mouth, girl. And I was like, I need to create space for this book for the first time, because normally what I'll say is, oh, I'll do it, I'll give it a couple
Mhm.
of years, or I'll wait till this happens. I'll wait till that happens. But the moment I said out of my mouth, I need to create space for it, it was like things just started lining up. And it was almost to the point where it was like, I guess I was basically telling myself, like,
Mhm.
like you create that space. And although in my mind, I'm like, I don't have time, I don't have this, and let it come out my mouth. I said, I just need to create space. I just need to make it happen.
Mhm.
So that part,
Right. So,
and so it's what I mean. I can really relate on that level.
oh yeah, a lot of
Oh, go
women
ahead.
can. A lot of women can, Robin. And just
Go
something
ahead,
just stuck
CG.
out to me. You asked me, you said, what did you do? And I couldn't think of one thing. If I had to
Yeah.
summarize what I did, it was I started prioritizing myself. And I started prioritizing myself above everything, even my children. And a lot of people looked at me crazy when I said that at first. I said that, I wrote about it in my book, and I had a few friends like, girl, what's wrong with you? And years later, it's one of those things like when you know, because I knew what I was saying. I knew exactly what I was saying. And I didn't, even
Yeah.
though people were
You knew
looking
it.
at me crazy, I never backed down from it, because I'm like, if I'm not my best self, how can I be a good anything to anybody? So if I could say anything
To anybody.
that was
Because the
different
thing is,
from
CG,
before,
yes.
go
Yep.
ahead.
Yeah. I was gonna say the thing is, we've been conditioned, like you said, people in your hometown would be like, we're
Girl.
supposed to do it all, right? And we've been conditioned to operate in a way, especially as moms, like we've been conditioned to be put yourself last, right? Like put yourself
Mhm.
last. And then once you've done everything for everybody else, including not just only your kids, but I mean, I'm talking about everybody else, right? Everybody
Every.
at the church, everybody in your community, right? Like you're serving everybody except for yourself. And then
Mhm.
you get to a point where you're depleted and we're not able to be anything really for ourselves or anybody else, right? And I think to your
Mhm.
point, that is when I had the moment when I realized how when I started prioritizing myself, and this took some time, honestly, CG, but when I started
Mhm.
prioritizing myself and saying, okay, what does Robin need? What does Robin want? That's when I was able to operate at my best for everybody. Like for literally in my business,
Yeah.
with, just my husband, my kids. Like I was able to truly operate at my absolute best. As a matter of fact, everything you just said, so a lot of this I'm writing about is going to be in my book too, because I
Okay.
talk about like some of the narratives that have played in our heads, like over and over, girl, over and over about, it's kind of like good mom, bad mom. And
Mhm.
you hear some people, they'll mommy shame you. They will mommy shame you if,
Oh
if
my
you
goodness,
find
Robin,
out.
don't get me
I
started.
had, I remember when I was telling someone,
Robin,
girl, I
girl.
remember telling somebody that I was doing Instacart. I remember I remember telling somebody that I was ordering groceries. I said, I don't go to the grocery store
Yeah.
anymore. Now, I will go to the grocery store to pick up produce, right? But I
Mhm.
remember certain people looking at me like, girl, you don't go to the grocery. Like,
Lazy.
and I'm like, no, like that's time I could be having at home with my kids. That's something I could be doing. Yes. Like, what? I'm gonna spend 2 hours in the grocery store. And I remember the people who told me, they was like, well, that's our time together. We go to the grocery. That's good for y'all. But see, I'm stressed
Good
when
for
I go in the
you.
grocery store with my kids,
Yes.
especially at that age.
Yes.
They were like 2, 3 years old. I was like, I'm not, listen.
Oh my goodness, you said
So
something.
I get it. I get it. I get it.
Yes. You know what? Oh my goodness. You are so right. The criticism did not come from men. The criticism I received when I started prioritizing myself was from other women, other moms, because I wasn't momming like them.
Yes.
Girl.
Yes. Yes. The mommy shame is real. The
The
mommy
mom
shame
shame is
is real,
real. You hear
man. Like,
me?
and it is girl,
Yeah, mom
girl.
shame is
But
a real
I
thing.
believe again when we put ourselves first, yeah, put ourselves first. I think that's when we can operate at our best. So, girl, look, we right here when we when it
Mhm.
comes to wellness and like really taking care of
Yes.
ourselves. So, I do. Let me see where we're on time. Okay, so we still good. I do want to ask you this. Did you have any influences like in your life that kind of guided you? Okay, well, first, let me say because you said you're a new person, right? Which I can relate. You're a new person in terms of the way you operate, just overall. You know, like you say, since 2016. Who were some
Mhm.
people? Or and I know you shared, I think you said you attended some conferences, but what were some other things that you were doing just to develop yourself, like just to grow and become who you are today?
Um, mm. It's basically what they say being in the room. I can't say just one thing, but just environments, like
Yes.
saying what I wasn't going to allow, like where I wasn't going. It was more so what I decided not to do versus what I did, honestly, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It
Um,
does. It does.
yeah, it was more so the not than the doing. I really started doing less. I started doing a lot less. Um, start being stop committing to so much,
Yes.
so many things. But if I had to name, you mean like a person?
Well, you don't have to name anybody specifically. I
Right.
think you kind of answered it, like putting
Right. Yeah,
yourself in
just being in
environment.
the rooms. Like,
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
yeah, just being in the
Yep.
rooms around people that get it. And I
Yeah.
didn't feel that weren't trying to make me feel crazy because they
Yes.
were like, girl, yeah.
Yeah. I get you. Just like
I
I
get you. And I'm like, see, they get me.
it can feel so lonely because I to your point, I remember feeling like maybe I'm not doing the right thing, right? Like because it was
Mhm,
nobody around me who was speaking my language in terms of a boss mom. Because here's the thing, boss moms, we move different. I'm just gonna
oh
go
yeah.
ahead and put it out there. Boss moms, we move different, right? And
Yeah.
so it's just a certain mindset, right? Like that we just have about just building our empire. And a lot of people don't get that. And it to your point, it does. Sometimes it does take you being in rooms with other people and being in environments with other people who are speaking your language to
Mhm.
really start growing and developing in that. So yeah, I can relate. Were there any, and I know you said you were doing some like courses. Well, and this is more so when you were doing like your marketing. You were saying that you did more professional development from
Mhm.
as related to like your marketing skills, right? Like kind
Mhm.
of growing that side of your business.
Oh yeah, and that's ongoing. Still do
Yeah.
it right
Yep.
today. Like
Me too. Me too. Yep.
I invest in. I totally well, oh, you know what? So hop back on the last question.
Okay.
In 2000, I got a life coach. That was the first, like I didn't even know what a life coach did, what she I got a life coach, right? That was one of the things that
Lovely.
kicked things off for me.
Okay. Okay. And when was that?
Yeah.
When was that?
Huh?
When did you get a
That was
life coach?
that was it was 2016.
Wow.
I
So
didn't even have yeah, I invested in a life coach when I didn't even have a job. Like I said, I've always been willing to take a risk on myself. I just felt like that's what I needed. And
I love this,
yeah,
CG. I love
yeah,
this.
I paid that money.
Investing in yourself, investing in yourself. And that's what it takes sometimes. Like it's funny because I hired, or I'm not even gonna say hired, I invested in a coach in 2017.
Girl. Yeah.
That was my first
I
coach.
forgot all about that. You bringing up some stuff.
Yes, I know. See, this look, this is why these talks are so needed. Like it kind of,
Yeah.
brings up some of those moments. But yeah, I mean, but that's the stuff it takes, right? Like
Yeah.
to become a different person, it really takes investing. Sometimes you got to invest in rooms, right? Like sometimes it takes
Mhm.
investing to get in those rooms with certain
Right.
people and to be connected with people who are at the level. or above, higher at the level that you're trying to go, right? Like
Mhm.
all of that is important. And even going back to having a coach, I believe everybody should have a coach. And
Yes.
I honestly believe that, especially if you're trying to get somewhere. So yeah, I'm right there with you, CG.
Mhm.
I know the power behind that.
And another thing I added too was therapy. Um,
Yes, ma'am.
I think it's been it was 20. I think we're going on 2 years.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I've been meeting with the same. I love her. Let me tell you, she helps me. Like she's my secret weapon. Um, my girls do therapy as well. Like it's just something I believe in. Never grew up being told to do it, and it's not weird, y'all. Like it's not weird. Like sitting on the couch, it's not that. It's not even like brain stuff. It's more of she helps me organize my life
Yes.
because, like you said, boss moms move differently. We have when we wake up, we have 1,003 things to do,
Hmm.
and sometimes that creates that anxiety, like not even doing it, but just thinking about what I need to have
Thought.
done.
Just the
So, just having somebody to help me organize my thoughts
yes.
is just,
Yes. It's
girl,
powerful.
it
It's
really
powerful.
is.
And that between for me, between therapy and journaling was a game changer for me.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
like, and I started journaling. It's crazy because I didn't realize. I was telling my husband, I started journaling back in 2007. I didn't even real. I was in college and I was
Hmm.
journaling, and didn't even realize what I was doing. But I just remember going back, like as since I've been writing my book, I've been going back through old journals and just kind of looking at some of the things that I was writing about. And I'm like, dang, like I didn't even realize how I was helping myself, during that process. But
Hmm.
I started going to therapy after losing my family. This was I had lost 3 family members, and I
Hmm.
remember going through therapy, and this was for years, right? But that was the best thing I could have done for myself because it was
Hmm.
almost one of them things where had I started coaching, like going through the coaching process first, and versus actually getting the therapy, like getting the stuff cleaned
Right.
up from my past. And a lot of those like limited beliefs and stuff that we fight with, oftentimes they come from, just mindsets that we've been carrying with us for years, right? Or certain narratives that we've been playing from like people around us for years, right? And I didn't even realize that. And so she helped me to unpack all of that. And then
Wow,
that's when
that's
we really elevated my journaling practices and all that stuff. So that was the thing that kind of moved me along to where I was finally prepared to go to a coach. And I remember the coach telling me like, like I know you have a lot because she kind of heard my story and all that stuff from from again losing my loved ones, and she was like, but I want you to know that there's a difference between the therapy and the coaching side. She was like, the therapy is going to help you get from kind of move beyond your past, like help you to address your past, while the coaching, I'm here to help you move forward. And so I would always
mhm.
remember her, saying that to me because I was like, okay. So she was like, look, I'm not gonna coach you if you don't have that in check first. So I always tell
Right.
people like the
And I
therapy,
love somebody to keep it real. Yeah,
girl,
tell me.
tell
Don't
me
leave me
what I
though.
need to do. Like, girl, I'm like, 'cause I would have been a mess. I would have just been getting all this coaching, going right back to, old habits and patterns and behaviors and stuff like that. So yeah, girl, that's a real thing. It's the
Oh
power
yeah.
of therapy.
Yes.
Real
So
thing.
needed.
And coaching, all of it. Combine
Hmm.
both of them. That's what I tell people. I'm like, I feel like you need both. I feel like you're really trying to go grow and become that different person. It does take that at some
Yeah.
point in your life, right?
Yeah. Even as a solo entrepreneur, I found you need to have a team.
Mm,
And the team doesn't mean employees.
employees. Yep. 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 I agree. I
A
agree.
team is somebody to help you reach a goal. So
I
yeah,
agree.
you gotta have a team. You gotta build a team.
Yes.
And if you
Yes.
get somewhere, like if you get a therapist and you don't connect with them, keep looking.
There's so many
'Cause that is,
businesses out there. Yeah.
yeah, it's so many.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay. So let's all right, we're like we're close on time, and I know I don't want to hold you up too much longer because I've held you long enough. This discussion is so good. So like tell me, um how do you find alignment? Like when, because I don't really like to use the word balance, but like, what are some things you do to ensure that you have alignment as it relates to, I say balance, but that's just to kind of give it some context, right?
Mhm.
As it comes to balancing out like your personal and professional like what some
Right.
things or I would say what's the number one thing that you feel has been the most useful with just finding that alignment.
Um, a few things. Um, Listening, being, I'm gonna say, being still enough to hear God's voice and
Mm,
being confident enough to listen to my own voice has been
good.
the most important thing for me.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Can you give me an example, like if there's anything maybe you can think of, like where
Mhm.
maybe you, like for example, maybe you were given like an opportunity or something and you chose to go with your voice. It may have looked good, right? It may have been tempting, but then you
Mhm.
decided to kind of choose a different path because you felt that maybe that path aligned better with who you were. So like you say, you found that confidence, right, in yourself to trust your own voice as well as God's voice. Do you have any examples maybe that you could share?
Right. I think that's just me. That's my whole life, right?
Yeah.
Because when you go to college, you're expected to work at a company, retire from a company, that good job type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's what was expected of me. Um, in a sense, it's like even with me deciding to go into insurance, like we talked about, you don't have to have a degree to do insurance. Um, at all. So I had a marketing degree, and I decided to um sell insurance. Why? Because I loved it. It totally aligned with the person I was, and
Yes.
also I was around people that were making 6 and 7 figures
Ooh.
easily every year,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the people that graduated from school were going to a $40,000 job, which ain't nothing wrong with it. But it gave me that work life balance because I could do all the things I needed to do, and I still was home to
Yeah.
pick up my baby.
Yes.
Um,
That's,
but to circle back to your question, on the outside, it's like, ish. Because when you thought about, that was another thing in the industry. When people thought about what an insurance agent was, it would be an old middle aged white man, and
yeah.
here I am, a young little black girl. Truth be
Yeah.
told, I
Yep.
was like 20 something, like 22, 23, something like that. But that was a decision I made. I just felt like it was right. And I
Yeah.
was right. Like I never regret that. Um, that's one example. I'm pretty sure I can think of a ton
Yeah.
more, but
No,
just
that's
right
important.
off is that my career path. And then after that, pivoting to working for myself, deciding to work for myself. And
Yeah.
I keep using the word decide because
Yes.
it was a choice.
It was a choice. But
Mhm.
but you know what sticks out, kind of going back, and I'm glad you brought that point back up, right? About when you decided to go into insurance, because kind of going back to the point about alignment, right? The way I define it is, and at least this is the way I look at it. I look at it where the alignment is where you have a goal in mind, right? Like you have a goal, and whatever it is that you're doing, it aligns with what you value, right? Like,
Yeah.
so you value that time, having more time with your daughter, having more of a presence at home, right? And
Mhm.
so, what I hear you say is that it's a lot of the decisions, right? Going back to the decision, a lot of the decisions that you made have been in alignment because they are attached to things that you value.
Yes. Yes.
And a lot of us
Totally.
And a lot of us, and I'm saying that because sometimes for us, and I'm speaking from my own personal experience, I'm just now, like I literally, it's taken me a couple of years to really come to that. But the fact that you, and I think it does take like, right, having that confidence to actually listen to yourself. That took
That
me a
part.
very long time, CG, because I remember going through, my career, not happy, I knew it was not in alignment with the things that I really knew that I wanted, what I value, right? But I just continued to push through. I continued to push through. I continued to just say, oh, well, I'm making this paycheck. I'm getting this, I'm getting that, I'm moving up, right? Versus saying, you know what, this does not align. And for me, on the opposite side of that, I did not make that decision. I
Mhm.
made the decision to just stay in it. What they say, suffer. Sometimes a lot of us, we just suffer in silence, right? So
Mhm.
you can see the difference here with you. You're saying, I knew this was something that I just did not want. It wasn't in alignment. So I made the choice to go, a different path. And I think that's what it takes for most of us to get what you really want, out of life. It does take making those decisions and trusting yourself.
Right.
Trusting your spirit, right?
You just said something. So the today CG can see that, but I've always been able to know, but knowing and doing two different
Two
things.
different things. Yes, ma'am.
So I would know, and that's when you get an imbalance, right? Because, like you
Yep.
said, you're going against your values,
Yep.
what you know to do to be right, and what you're doing, like what you should do and what you're doing, two different things. So
Yes.
I would know, oh girl, listen, it took a journey to get like, and I haven't arrived, girl, just today. Like it's
Yeah,
so many things.
girl.
But
I
I
get it.
remember knowing what the best decision was for myself and still choosing
Wow.
to not do what I knew was right, but I was afraid to like basically put myself, putting others, or whether it was my manager, person I'm in a relationship with,
Yeah.
whatever. I knew I've always had the knower, but I wasn't always the
Sure.
doer.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And I mean,
So
we all get to that point, right? Like we all have those moments, and but it's like the newer version of ourselves. Like we're
yeah,
more
and
aware.
older, like,
We're
well,
more aware. I ain't
more
gonna say
aware.
old
That
though,
part.
girl.
Yeah,
We
I
more
was just about to say that. Definitely more aware. I
because I
will
know
agree.
some. Listen, let's not even go. But okay, but okay, but all right. So I want you, because we did not really allow you the opportunity to really go into rich marketing systems. So before we get
Okay.
off, I want you to share with everyone more about your business, what you do, and how you can help people, especially boss moms, right? On their path to entrepreneurship. So just share that with. And if you have an offer, please feel free to share that for the Wine and Mastermind members.
Okay. Well, so what I do, Rich Marketing Systems, is a digital marketing agency. We specifically help um, businesses advance in the digital world, right? So whether you're a brick and mortar who wants to have a bigger or just a relevant online presence, or if you're a coach, consultant, those kind of things, we help you streamline, create systems, streamline them so you can, advance your business, because sometimes, like I said, you become an employee in your own business.
Yeah.
And then there are times when we also help with hiring, training, and developing. um, Before you hire people, you have to have systems in place. Like, I know a lot of people that probably are listening here today, you've heard, oh, you need to hire a virtual assistant, or you need to grow a team. Like, those are the buzzwords now. But so many of my clients that I work with, the turnover rate is astronomical because, for one, they don't know what their systems are, because they've been the employee for so long. So
Yeah.
now you're having to get other people in the driver's seat, and it's just total chaos, right? So that's what we help do. We help create the systems. We build the systems, and then we actually document the process to get you prepared to hire and delegate to other professionals, right?
Yeah.
Um, I'm on Instagram. I don't have an offer, but you can always follow me. You can always follow me. I actually offer complimentary free systems assessments for female led businesses. So if you are a female that owns a business, I will take a look at what you have as far as your calendar. If you're feeling overwhelmed, these are signs that you need to come see me. Let me just say this. So if you plan on hiring within the next 6 to 12 months, you
Let's
should
tell
come.
them. Let's tell them.
If you plan on hiring within the next 6 to 12 months, you should come see me. If you've lost some people within the last 12 to 6 months, you should come see me. Email marketing. If you are having to physically touch every person that gives you money, you should come see me. If your calendar is, if you don't even have a calendar, let's start there. If
Let's start there.
your clients, yeah, if your clients are running your days, you should come see me. Systems, sales, marketing, and automations is what we do basically. Yes, ma'am.
Awesome, girl. Look, y'all better go see CG now. Look, I already know
Look, you know what? One thing, Robin, I work with a lot of people who are either tech phobic, because this thing can be intimidating, and I
yeah,
totally get it.
yeah.
What I had one of my clients email message me on Facebook earlier. She was like, "Thank you for meeting me where I am," and
Ooh,
that meant so much to me, because I never want to feel anyone to feel like I'm talking over their head, or they can't, like Robin said earlier, you're gonna have to suffer in silence. So
mhm.
if you don't even know where you are, yeah, just
Yeah,
yeah, book your
yeah.
assessment.
Yeah, book the assessment seriously, like, and let CG just guide you along the way, right? Like
Mhm.
she'll let you know what are next steps, and I know you'll get some good recommendations, girl, because you gave me
Absolutely.
some really good recommendations about some things. So,
Always.
yeah, yeah, thank you so much, and make sure you follow CG on Instagram, and it's going to be at cg.co, so it's right there under her or under her picture right there. So make sure you follow her on Instagram, hit her up, and also sign up for the free assessment. And CG, I think we're good here.
This
We
has been so
such
good.
a good discussion, girl. Thank you so much. Like, thank you for your time today or this evening, because I know it's about close to my bedtime. I'm gonna try to get in bed at least. But yeah, I know we're gonna have more discussions in the near future, and hopefully we can do some collaboration at some point,
I
right?
hope so, girl. I hope
Yes.
so. Thank you so much. I
Oh,
really enjoyed.
thank you. Yes, likewise. Thank you so much, CG. All right, everyone. We will see you all next week for another Power Talk session. Have a
All
good
right.
night.
Good night.
Good night.